2023 was a year full of sensation. It was a year full of chaos. It was it felt like we were marching towards something really dire. And now that we're at the dawn of 2024, it's really not showing so many signs of slowing down. We've got a lot of stuff happening already. Um, Now, I know the title of this video is about UFO disclosure. And I want to talk about that a little bit. But before I forget, if you'd like to drop a like and a subscribe, if you'd like to stick around, I'd like to have you here on this channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Uh, anyway, Game Tech Politics. He's a guy I interact with a lot. He's a dear friend of mine on Twitter, and he's pretty prescient with his posts. Now, this is a topic that I have admittedly butt head. I've given him quite a bit of sass with this stuff. Like I've really my position is that I'm not impressed with stories about stories. I really need to see something tangible and provable. However, in every other sphere of reporting, this guy, he does seem to be ahead of the game, and that's actually one of his quotes. He likes to be ahead of the game. Uh, he also says he likes to say the crazy things so we don't have to. Now, one thing I can vouch for is that he has called a number of things ahead of time. With regards to the UFO stuff, I wasn't really following him back then when he's making claims to have. Let's read this. Everything you're hearing Tucker say about UFOs, I covered and broke the story prior to the David Grusch interview with News Nation. Now that's the one with Russ Coulthard, the Australian fellow. I hope you all have paid attention to my reporting because you're all in for a treat in a couple of weeks. Now, Game has been telling me for a while now that early January or mid-January, sometime in this month, we're going to have some form of catastrophic disclosure, if you will. Now, I'm not sure if they're the words he used, but he knows that I've been giving him he's well aware of the sass that I give him. I mean, this guy Dustin Stockton, he's apparently in the circle as well. These guys have some sort of insight that I don't have. So I tend to trust these guys. He says can confirm, and here we have Game backing him up on that. And here we are with my sass, of course. Will it be enough? Will it be enough to make me eat my hat? As in, like, more than just stories. He hasn't responded, but he tends to just leave me on this one. But let's see how things go. It could be a very interesting month. It's already started off quite devastating over in Japan. We've got at least 55 people killed in an earthquake that struck Western Japan on Monday, which was New Year's Day. The authorities said a day after the disaster, as they continue to comb through the rubble of collapsed and burned buildings. The dead include 24 24 in Wajima, a city in, I'm not going to pronounce it, Ishikawa Prefecture, the coastal epicenter of the earthquake, which triggered tsunami warnings, extensive evacuations, and widespread power outages after it hit about 4:10 p.m. on New Year's Day. A large fire broke out in Wajima and after the quake, which registered 7.6, it's so quite large, on the Japanese seismic intensity scale. Some died after being trapped in rubble from destroyed buildings. It was a pretty intense one. What have we got here? This is crazy. Rescuers continue to search for victims trapped in the rubble, collapsed, burned buildings on Tuesday. I mean, this is just insane. It looks like a war zone. And just, around the globe a little bit, we have in Washington, D.C., or the Maryland area, we've got a few rumbles and shakes in the ground over there as well. The 2.3 earthquake has occurred outside of Washington, D.C., with the epicenter taking place near Rockville, Maryland. Multiple reports in the area have felt the shake. Now, I don't believe there was much damage as far as I understand. I haven't really followed up on this one yet. But really, this video was just going to be a short one and one about this UFO disclosure. I don't have anything really exciting to show you right now. I would suggest that you go and follow my friend Game Tech Politics. He's at GTP_podcast on Twitter. And yeah, he's a great guy. I really enjoy his content quite a lot. He is a prescient fellow, and although we are at some sort of like friendly war over this topic, I bookmark all of his predictions nonetheless. Oh, and one last thing, there is this. I found this on another post by Game. He's asking the right questions that I would. Now, this is in regards to the Epstein flight logs. Let's have a look at this.
Flight logs. They released Epstein's flight logs. They actually released Epstein's flight logs. They look like this. They are 118 pages long, running from like early 90s or maybe the late 80s, I forget, through to the early 2000s. And some names come up a lot. I have only just started looking into them, but the first name that caught my eye was Andy.
Andy. Now, pausing there, Andy. Who would you suggest that Andy would be? I mean, to me, it seems quite obvious. Like, for me, that seems like it would be Prince Andrew. But, you know, apparently I was wrong.
He's on so many flights here, and I don't know who he is. Plus, Andy is AS. You'll find out why in a second. And I can't help but notice that he's on flights like this one, which is Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Andy, and one female. Everyone has names on the list except for when there's one female.
Right, they have initials.
Or sometimes there's two passengers.
That's interesting.
I think we all know what that means. And
Andy
right here
AS
is the top of where Andy shows up.
Andy Stewart.
And from then on, he's known as Andy. And I've never heard of Andy Stewart. So
neither.
I did a little Google.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but notice that WikiSpooks was the third answer. And WikiSpooks is always spicy and exciting. Yup, didn't let us down. Andy Stewart died suddenly on April 7th, 2020, as Maria Farmer's lawyers were seeking to subpoena him for information on the Epstein case.
Right. But who the fuck is Andy Stewart? Member of Lolita Express passengers. Oh no, that's no good. Ugh. Well, I don't know. It feels to me like that's like almost like a pseudonym
Seems
for
like our
Prince
boy
Andrew.
Andy might have had some information on the Epstein case,
or maybe it's a real guy.
Where Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Andy and two females went somewhere, and then they went somewhere with one female. And I'm not implying that like they offed her or anything. I'm just saying that he was on a number of these flights that have these unnamed passengers. Also found some of the Mark Middleton flights.
Okay.
He's an important name.
Look, I don't know how many of these names are actually banned from YouTube right now. So I might just stop it there. You can go check this out also at Game Tech Politics. Yeah. So please, once again, drop a like and subscribe to this channel. If you would like to support what I do, please go to danielclancy.live/donate. I really need to raise some funds so I can keep this thing going. I would gratefully receive anything that you can spare, but you know, your views are just as good as well. So thank you very much for sticking around this long, and I'll see you next time.